Hello filmmakers, it's Carrie with Filmmaker Central, and it's been a while since I've done some Davinci Resolve tutorials, and I love it. I use Davinci Resolve virtually every day. I mean, we do so much editing in Davinci Resolve, and I think I had kind of got to the point where I wasn't doing anything new or different or anything, and so like having inspiration to do some tutorials was, I don't know, just difficult. Well, this is the new MacBook Pro M1 Max. It's got 64 gigs of RAM in it, and it's really enabling me to do things that I've wanted to do a lot more of, but because they were just so painful to do in the past, I never really got around to doing them. And a lot of that was tracking, some 3D text, some really creative titles, things like that that were just difficult to do on previous machines. On this machine, they're so easy because the machine is so freaking fast. So my goal is to do some new tutorials that I think might be interesting to people, especially if you're getting one of these new systems that is just ridiculously fast running Davinci Resolve. So what's one of the first things we're going to look at? I'm going to show you how to do, this is going to be kind of three different things in one. First, we're going to use the planar tracker so that we can lock some text down. Then I'm going to show you how to do 3D text, and then we're going to do rotoscoping. So we're going to do all of that in one video. So hopefully this won't get too crazy. So let's take a look at what we're going to accomplish. So here we've got the Jeep driving in front of 3D text. Okay, pretty simple. I definitely can clean this up and make it look better, but for the purposes of doing this video, I think this will work pretty darn well. So I'm going to take this clip and we'll just toss it on the end of our timeline here. This is actually a video that I'm doing for my Trail Traveler YouTube channel, and we will reset. I'm not going to do any cheating here. We're going to do this all from scratch with a clean set, or a clean clip. So here's the clip playing with the Jeep just moving in front of the grass. And I want you to take note here that this was shot from a drone. So if you notice, the whole scene is shifting a little bit because the winds were pretty high. So if we just put some text on there and rotoscope the Jeep in front of it, you're going to see ground movement but not text movement. So it's definitely not going to look right. But we're going to start building up the different processes so we can figure out how all of these things are going to come together. So we're going to jump over into Fusion, and if you're not familiar with Fusion, that's all right. The media in is the clip that we're working with. Media out is the output that is going to go back to Resolve. Oh, good thing I made some fresh coffee. All right. It's okay if you need to pause along the way and you know, try and absorb all this, because I'm going to go through this. I'm probably going to go a little quick. I don't mean to, but there's a lot to cover and I don't want to make this a 2-hour video. All right, so from our media in, what's the first thing that we can do here? Well, let's just add some text. So I'm going to go and now I did Shift Space, brings up my tool selector, and I'm going to just type in text. I'm going to go text plus node, and since I had my media in selected, it's going to create a merge node. And I'll go in here, and this trail is called Barber Fork. And we'll increase the size here, and we'll pull it up. Okay, so we have our text here, but as I said, the grass is moving, and so it doesn't look right. We got to lock it down. And of course, the Jeep is going to be behind the text, and that's not what we want. Now, we could, of course, just move the text down in front and not deal with the rotoscoping. But again, we have this movement in the grass that we need to deal with. So let's do it one way first, and then we'll get more complicated as we move up. So what I need to do is I need to track this grass here. So from my media in, shift space, and I'm going to go to the planar tracker. Now there are, in the studio version, there are 3 different ways of tracking. Planar tracker, which is going to track something that's in a plane, something flat, which is going to work great for here with this grass. The camera tracker, which can track an entire scene and allow you to do stuff. And then there's just the tracker, which is good for tracking an object. Now we will go through all of these over the next couple weeks and dig into when one is better than the other. So for our purposes here, let's take our planar tracker, and I'm just going to basically do a rectangle where that text is sitting on this grass. I didn't have my playhead at any specific place, but it's not going to matter because nothing is going to go outside of this box. But just for the sake of ease, we're going to go to the beginning. Our playhead is at the beginning. We're doing a point tracker, motion type is perspective, or I can look at this and see, do I need to do something else? And I don't need to do perspective. I'm not changing perspective. I'm only translating it. So it's moving up, down, left, right, and maybe some rotation. It's not scaling, so I don't need to worry about that. It's not shearing. So I think translation is going to give us the best output here. So I'm going to make sure my playhead's at the beginning, and I'm just going to say track to end. Whoops, and I forgot to give it a starting point. So I do have my playhead at the beginning. It says my reference time is 00 up here, and I have to say set. Now it'll take it to the end. And this is what I like about the M1 Max, is doing this is so ridiculously fast. All right, so we've got our planar information here. Now we need to use this somewhere. So I need to come over here and say create a planar transform. Now at this point I can actually remove this tracker because I don't need it anymore. And what I'm tracking is the text, so I can move that planar transform in line here with the text. Now when we play this, now we can see that the text is moving perfectly with the background or with the grass there. And once it catches us the first time, then we should get pretty much real-time playback. Look at that. So at this point, we have used the planar tracker to track an area on the screen, and then we've taken and created the planar transform so that the text can follow whatever we have on there. So if this is all you're looking for, great. Awesome. You're good to go. Now, of course, this doesn't look right, and you know, there's shadows and things on here. So let's just clean this up just a little bit as long as we're sitting in here. Let's transform it. We'll go to rotate, and this will allow us to rotate the text. So I can make it seem like it's maybe standing up a little bit more, like that. Okay, I like that. And then I'm going to copy the text node, just Command C, Command V, and now I have a copy of it here. I'm going to go to the second one. Let's change this to black. Okay, and I'm going to go back over to my transform, and I'm going to rotate this one back. Okay, so far so good. And I'm going to go to shear, and we see that that shadow is going to the left. So, and let's stand that up just a little bit so we can see it. And not too bad. Now on this merge too, notice we have the shadow in front of the text. We need to move the shadow behind the text. So on the merge node here, I'm going to right click on it and we can say swap inputs. So I'm going to make one, right now the shadow is the foreground, the white is the background. If I swap that, now the shadow is behind it. All right, we are looking good. So now we actually have some text, we have a shadow that has an angle to it and it's behind it, but it's just a really harsh shadow there. So what we're going to do, we're going to make sure our text one is selected. We're going to come over here to shading, and I'm just going to crank down the alpha channel, which if I turn it all the way down, it's going to disappear. If I put it around the midpoint there, now it's going to, that shadow is going to be a little more transparent. Awesome. We are cooking right now. So let's go to our edit node, or our edit page. And you can see I've got that red line above it that says it's not rendered. It only takes a moment to render this, and we'll play it back. Oh hell, let's just play it at full screen. So we've got a pretty good lock on the ground with the text. We can probably clean that up. We can fine tune it a little bit, but just for the sake of showing you how this works, I think this is going to look really, really well. Now, of course we want to take this to the next level, right? So let's go back into Fusion and let's take all of this and we're going to move it up. Now, the problem that we're going to have here right off the bat is, first, now the Jeep is going to be in front of the text. So at some point we're going to have to fix that. And our tracking is going to be way off because we were tracking the grass on the bottom, not the grass on top. So I'm going to lose that planar transform. I'm going to bring the planar tracker back in over that, and we'll just move things up here so that we're tracking the area where that text is now sitting. Now, I'm not going to go all the way down over that because that Jeep is going to come in front of it and could end up messing up our track. So let's, we'll just go to the beginning, make sure everything's good. I'm going to scrub through. See, it is going to hit that. So I am going to just make a little bit of an adjustment to my tracker here, just to, I don't want to try and track the Jeep. So, okay, that should be really good. We'll go back. I'm going to set my point, reset everything, and let's track. Okay, now again, create our planar transform. We'll get rid of the tracker. We'll move the planar transform in front of the other stuff, and we are locked down pretty darn good. But now we need to mask out the Jeep, and this is where things get fun. That's so to speak anyway. More coffee. So, there's not really a super easy way of doing this. We're going to do it by hand. We are going to rotoscope the Jeep out by hand. Seems a little scary, but it's actually not going to be that bad. What we need to do is just put a polygon around what we need to mask out, and then basically tell it that it's a mask. So shouldn't be too difficult of a proposition here. Now, what I am going to do, just to make my life easier so I can see things, is I'm going to disconnect the text that we had the tracking on, so I can really focus on the Jeep here. And I'm going to shift space, type in polygon, or you can also use the shortcuts down here. I find I'm just faster with keyboard shortcuts. And I'm just going to basically draw around the Jeep. Now, if you noticed, when the Jeep was moving, it actually moved. It is going to rotate on us. And that's going to present a little bit of a challenge in getting things dialed in perfectly. But no fear, we will make it work. And I'll come up to the front and tie it together. Okay, now we've got our polygon. Now what we're going to have to do is track this polygon and adjust it as we go. Now, someone who taught me how to do rotoscoping said the best thing you can do is as few changes as possible, which is why I kind of started in the middle here. And as we move the Jeep, we're going to try and do things in big chunks so that we don't have to do as much manual changes. We are going to have to do some, no doubt, but if I start at the beginning and move it, I'm doing so many more keyframes that it just becomes unwieldy when I'm not going to have to do that. What we do need to do, though, is we need to make sure that Resolve knows I'm going to be moving this. So I'm going to come over here and see where it says center. I'm just going to click that, turn that red. So now I've set the first keyframe. Now from there, anytime I make a change to it, it's going to add another keyframe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the beginning. Okay, and we see the outline of our polygon here. And if I put polygon in the first window and I have the Jeep over here in the other window, now I can take this polygon and just move it. And pretty simple. Now, of course, the shape's not going to be right, but I'm not overly concerned about that. But I am going to have to know where I really come into that text. So just for a moment, I'm going to put the text up here, see where the Jeep is going to intersect it, because this is where I really need to be tracking that polygon from. I don't need to go all the way to the beginning because I'm not trying to mask it from there. So this is the point where I need to start with the mask. So I can move the polygon over that. And again, it doesn't have to be like super accurate at the beginning because it's not touching anything. Okay, so we kind of have our starting point, and I'm going to pull the little pieces down to make sure I have the outline of the Jeep well. Okay, so now we have this beginning point here. We have kind of a midpoint here. So I'm going to go to the middle of that. Okay, now if you see, it's really not that far off. So I can just do some minor adjustments here. All right, I'll zoom in a little bit more. But why is it not making it disappear, right? Well, because the polygon isn't connected to anything. What we have to do is tell it, okay, what are we trying to do with this? So what we need to do is connect our polygon to the merge node so that it knows that this is a mask that we're creating. So I'm going to pull that up, and this is exactly not what we're trying to do. So from the polygon, we got to make sure that's selected, and we're going to come over here and say invert. All right, look at that. We are masking out the text. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so we're making some progress here. And again, I can just disconnect that line because I want to make sure I can really see the outline of the Jeep here and get my mask to be kind of as good as possible. And so I just have to make little adjustments so that things tie in real nicely. Okay, now let's also check our endpoint. So we're kind of at the middle here. We'll go to the next spot, and we can very quickly check. Okay, things are looking pretty good. All right, and let's see where our end point is. So that's the end of where we need to track from. Again, don't need to track all the way to the end. So from here, let's just move our mask over. Okay, and let's cut that in half. Okay, dang, pretty good, huh? All right, we just need to make some minor adjustments here so that it flows onto the Jeep properly. Let's check the back. All right, see, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on here. I'll disconnect that. Oh, now we can see things a lot clearer here, and I can tuck my polygon right to the shape of the Jeep here. That'll make life a whole lot easier. Let's make sure we get this tire good. We have this little gap in the back, and if we do this right, we'll actually be able to see that. Okay, good. And we'll just tuck the front there, reconnect things. We are looking really good. Okay, so we got a little cleanup on that side, not very much on this side. Okay, so a lot of this rotoscoping is just little tweaks, little tweaks, little tweaks, making sure things look the way they're supposed to. Are things lined up good? And yeah, you know, it can be a little tedious, but you know, that's kind of part of it. We'll move to this other section and we'll move things down. Yeah, probably didn't need to do that. Most of the Jeep is there. I'll disconnect things again so I can tuck those lines up really nice. Just want to make it look good. We got a little dangler up there. Getting to know your keyboard shortcuts is going to do you lots of favors. I'm using, I use the Option key or the Command key quite often. I command and scrolling my trackpad up and down, zooms in and out. Then I'm moving things around by just not having a modifier and just using my trackpad. Oh, that one's really high. Get that guy back in line here. Get that one lined up with the edge. Get a little bit seeping through. Now, again, you can make this as perfect as you want. It's all about how nice you want all of this to look when it's done. Now, because the Jeep angle is changing, we don't see that gap over the back tire anymore. So what's nice is as you're doing this, Resolve is kind of morphing the shape for you. So it takes some of the work away from having to just do every single frame and making sure everything is perfect. All right, we are back in business here. Connect things back up again. And I think we might have this. And let's let this render. There it goes. It's only going to take a few seconds. Boom. Now, one thing I want to point out about what we're doing here. All of this is in real time. I am not speeding up the footage. I'm not making any cuts. The speed that you're seeing this work is the speed that it's working. So if you're trying to do this on another machine and you're like, oh my God, this is taking forever. Yeah, it's this machine. It's not me doing camera tricks. It's not me doing editing tricks. This is how fast this is working. All right, let's give it a look. All right, I saw a couple little glitches, but you know, nothing that can't be fixed there. Oops, there we go. Yeah, you kind of see over here, there's a gap between the Jeep and the A. So easily fixable by just tweaking that mask a little bit. We'll go back into Fusion and where's our polygon? And I'll just grab that little notcher right there. Boom, done. Okay, easy fixes. And I didn't do 50 keyframes. What you see here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's a total of 9 keyframes on here to make this whole masking work. It's not bad at all. You ready to ramp it up? Let's do it. Okay, so right now we're using just this 2D flat text. Let's take it to another level. Okay, so I'm going to take these guys, these text nodes, I'm going to get rid of them, and we're going to add a text 3D node. Yep. Now, you can't just connect text 3D to the planar transform. We have to render it. So we need a render 3D node. All right. And now we can connect that. And on our text, it's Barber Bork. All right, and we'll zoom out a little bit so we can see what we're doing here. Our text is awfully big, so we'll try and make it about the same size we had before, and we'll put it into the right position. And we kind of had it up. All right, so it's like right in there somewhere, about the same size-ish that we had before. And now, if we play this, oops. Let's give it a play. Well, and I did a pretty poor job of positioning it. So let's move it back to, okay, it was more like that. Let's play backwards. We do want it to be in front of some of that. All right, so now we're scooching in front of the text. Awesome. Okay, but this looks just like what we had before, doesn't it? So let's make this 3D text. All right, so we'll go back over to the text node. We'll go to our extrusion, and we will give it some depth, and a little bevel depth, a little bevel width. Okay, so now we have some 3D text, and it looks like it's kind of tilted back, just kind of the way, it's just the way it seems like a little bit. So I'm going to rotate that forward so it looks like it's standing up a little bit more. Okay, good. I like that. But it's still pretty ugly, right? So in front of this text 3D, we're going to add a replace material. Now, this is going to allow us to map texture to this text. Now, if you're not familiar with Fusion, there's a bunch of cool stuff in here. And if you don't have the effects open, up here at the top of the screen, click on effects. We're going to make sure this is open. We're going to go to templates. We're going to go to Fusion, and we're going to go to shaders. Okay, now we have some built-in things that we can use. And let's use car paint. Sure, why not? And we'll drop this in here. Now, what this does is it adds in a whole bunch of stuff that is going to give us a texture. So we can just connect from that onto here, and boom, we have a texture on here. Let's try a different one. I'll just Command Z out of that, and let's go to steel. That's what I used to do the demonstration. Now this one's all grouped so it doesn't make a mess everywhere, and we'll connect that to our replace material. All right, now we have some really ugly looking text, and that's because this texture really needs a light source on it. So more work, all right? After the replace material, we need a 3D merge. So I'll add a 3D merge node here, and now we can add a spotlight, because spotlights are the only lights that actually can cast shadows and things. Although we're not going to cast a shadow, that is a massive undertaking, but we are going to cheat. So don't get me wrong there. All right. And on our render 3D, we're going to make sure that's selected and come over here and select lighting. Okay. So we have a light, but we have no light on the text. We need to figure this one out. All right. And I know I'm going quick. So I'm going to go up here to my viewer, going to go to dual screen here, see how my merge looks. So I have my merge 3D selected. I hit 1 to put it over here. Now if I scroll around, we can see the spotlight is behind the text. Well, that's not going to work well for us. So I need to move it. Whoops, I'm moving everything. I only want the spotlight selected. And now I can pull the spotlight. There we go. Look at that. We're getting light on our text. And it's a spotlight, so it's creating a small circle there. And we can come over to our cone angle, and we can just increase that. We can have a linear decay on there so it looks a little bit better. We can increase our penumbra angle so our fade looks a little better. But the lighting definitely does not match anything else. Here we have very straight on lighting where everything else, the sun is coming from the right. So let's scroll out here. Let's move our light source over to the side. And I'm not going to be perfect here. I just want something that visually looks okay. And we need to now rotate the spotlight. So we click on transform, and we have our X, Y, and Z. So if I rotate the Y axis, now, there we go. Look at that. So if I move it in, you can kind of see the effect here. And go to controls and So I can really blast the light in here. Now by default, that only went to 1, but I typed in 2 so I could get more range with that. All right. So the text is looking good, but it looks totally fake sitting there because again, there's no shadow. So we're going to do exactly what we did before. And all right, I'm always tweaking stuff, so bear with me here. Let's do the same thing we did before. We're going to take our text 3D node. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to hit paste. Okay, it creates another 3D merge here, which, no, don't really need that. I need to take this text 3D and add it to our existing merge. All right, and I'm going to make sure that my extrusion depth is nothing. No bevel depth, no bevel width, and my text is going to be black. All right, so now I need to rotate this back. There we go. We got it rotated to the back. We're going to add some shear to move that shadow to the right. Maybe even some more. There we go. Really nice there. And go to shading and turn down my alpha channel. All right. Now, how does it look? Okay, look at that. Now, the text looks like it's sitting there with a shadow from the sun that has some transparency to it. So you see the grass through the shadow. So it looks a lot more realistic. So let's let this render for a moment. And give it a play. Look at that. All right, we've done it. So I know this was a lot of stuff in here. So what did we do? We put some text onto a video. Great. We used the planar tracker to map it, to track it to the ground so that it moved with the ground. We did kind of a fake drop shadow behind that to make it look more realistic. Then we moved it up on the other side and we did rotoscoping so that the Jeep was in front of the text. Then we did 3D text and then we added some light sources. So a lot of stuff in one short video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like this format of taking something and just cramming through it like this to see some of the cool things that you can do in Fusion, let me know. If you want it to be a lot slower of a pace and one concept at a time, let me know, and we can adjust things and find out what's going to work best for everybody. But I hope this gave you some really cool concepts on some things that you can do to really spice up your videos and add something like this. I mean, you see this type of text work in TV shows like Naked and Afraid or Alone, and a lot of those where they've placed the titles into the environment, which I think looks really cool when it's done right. Now, what we didn't do is like where the grass is taller to really mask it out and put that in front of the text. That's a lot more work, but you can see how it's done, and that's really what I wanted to get across. So let me know. Did you like this video? Do you like the pace? Do you like how we're taking something that I'm trying to do for another channel and walking you through it and showing you a bunch of stuff in a very condensed format. I know I ran through stuff extremely fast and, you know, give you the opportunity to pause along the way and catch up, but let me know if you'd rather it be broken down into smaller pieces so that we're not trying to do like 3 advanced things all at once, or do you like this where we're doing a complete project and getting all the way through it? So I really want you to let me know in the comments if this is a format that you enjoy. If so, I'll keep doing them this way because there's a lot of other things that we're doing now that we have this much more powerful machine and are able to do things in a much faster way. If you go back and look at some of my other videos on doing stuff like this, those videos took hours to produce, hours of rendering time, not sitting here and essentially doing it in real time. So there's a huge difference there. And I want to bring you this type of content if you like it. So let me know. So this has been Kerry with Filmmaker Central. Please like, share, subscribe, check that bell icon to get notified whenever I put out a new video. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.